Bonsoir tout le monde. Je vais vous présenter le race recap de le Grand Prix de France.
Nailed it, man. That's two weeks in a row we've had to start with.
And the government said I wasn't bilingual. That's the limitations to my French, everybody. So that's it. English from now on forward.
It's an England kind of type of day, you know.
It is. What a great day for England, as Lewis Hamilton said. It started early in the day with England hammering
Panama.
Poor Panama.
I feel bad for them, but man, what a game though.
6-1 victory. The largest in World Cup history, right?
Yeah, I think so.
7-2.
Yeah,
I think it was actually 7-1.
Was it 7-1?
I think so, yeah.
There's always that one.
Sorry, Brazil.
Yeah, it's hard to forget that one.
Yeah. And then it was Lewis Hamilton.
The entire race, pretty
Still
much.
on a rise, yeah. I said before, I tweeted out yesterday that it could possibly be a Hamilton runaway race, and it sort of was. I mean, it wasn't.
I think Verstappen came ahead for one lap when he came out of the pit.
That was pretty much it.
That was about it.
Yeah, it was kind of a slow getaway for Hamilton, and maybe at the end, he was just kind of conserving the new engine and all his parts. So, but it turned out to be a pretty straightforward race for Lewis Hamilton. But it wasn't straightforward on lap number 1. It was pretty crazy.
It was most exciting start we've seen so far, I want to say.
I would say so this season. Yeah, I don't think I can. Yeah, I mean, maybe in Baku, but not, first corner.
First corner right away, right off the bat, kind of just set the entire race for everybody. Bottas kind of struggled right after the first little turn there, and then it was Vettel kind of not struggling, but just he used up all he had in the first lap, so it was kind of hard for him to keep up.
Yeah, Vettel done messed up on lap 1.
But he got driver of the day, so
yeah, have your say on that.
Goddamn Ferrari fans.
And we actually have the race start here. There was so much that happened that it was kind of hard to follow. Who was at fault in which areas. I think it was
this one here. Oh no.
Second tab. Yeah, there we go. And so it was. We can start with just the Ferrari and Mercedes incident. So you can see here, it was a good start from Vettel. He started on the ultra soft, so he had about a 4-meter grip advantage, and he got into that slipstream of Lewis Hamilton and then kind of outbroke himself, locked up, and then punted Bottas off the track and eventually kind of screwed himself out of position. And then after this, it was just a wild, wild west of cars going everywhere.
There was no track at this point.
No track limits. Everybody's just go anywhere.
But you know what I was really impressed with was how not everyone, but most of the drivers kind of tried to play a fair after the first race. They held back where they needed to, let the driver that they were fighting with in that point just met up with them.
They all just went off track. They were like, I'm not dealing with this.
Yeah,
right
exactly.
Now, so.
And you know what was smart? I think it was Leclerc who had the best first turn.
And
out
Carlos
of everybody.
Sainz.
Oh, and Carlos Sainz. It was luck, but it was very impressive. They knew exactly where to be on all those turns.
So here it is, the Vettel on board. So you can see here he just gets a bit too close with that slipstream and then locks up the left
right there,
and boom. So that was definitely Sebastian's fault. And then later in the lap, I think he might have been in contact with a Sauber or Williams, and then. This was what we were talking about before the show, where Romain Grosjean came together with Ocon earlier before he crashed into
right at the starting grid. They actually did the analysis of it, and they said to keep an eye on Ocon, and it's a rough start for him. I feel very bad for the Frenchmen who both collided in that point there.
And this was it from Gasly's point of view. And first French Grand Prix in 10 years and 2 French drivers.
And you know what? What's even worse is Gasly had a great run into this turn 2, and then right there.
Yeah. It looks like he kind of lost the back end before.
Yeah, exactly. He saw Ocon coming in, and that was just it for him, which is very unfortunate.
And somebody lost a wheel, too. And
yeah.
So you can see here the slow motion. So you can see the cars at the back. They're just like, oh, I'm going to go around.
Yeah, just screw this.
Wheels flying off. Yeah, it was a carnage of the first lap.
Oh, my God. Just look at all that. Look at right here.
Yeah.
Right? He's got no tires right there.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a lot of – and the funny thing was, too, is 30 minutes later, they were still investigating the lap 1 incident.
Well, I mean, on that point, do you think Vettel should have gotten more of a violation than 5 seconds? Or do you think 5 seconds is fair?
I don't know. I think 5 seconds is fair because like if we go back to last year, they gave him a 10-second stop and go for hitting into Lewis Hamilton, which was fair because it was dangerous driving. That I think was just a first lap incident. I think you could have probably given a lot of guys there a 5-second time penalty. I mean, Verstappen left the track and pretty much kind of gained an advantage there. I think Sainz probably would have been in P2 had Verstappen not gone off. So, yeah, I know Lewis Hamilton, I think, was saying that 5 seconds wasn't kind of enough. I think he said it was sort of a tap on the hand. Yeah, was his quote.
Well, I thought about it, and you know what? I thought 5 seconds was kind of unfair at first, but then you look back at the incident, and there was only so much that Vettel could have done at that point. His brakes locked up. He kind of just went into it, tried to steer out of it, and you know what? He did take full blame for it afterwards. It wasn't like one of those, like, it was his fault, that's why this happened, and he took full blame for it, so you know what? I'm okay with the 5-second violation.
I would agree, yeah. And the strategy was interesting to see whether he was going to take it when the race was finished or sort of during the race.
Exactly,
and then, with Mercedes screwed up Valtteri Bottas's last pit stop, and then he gained enough time there.
Yeah, so he even commented, he's like, honestly, like, the only difference it would have made was one position. I would have probably gained one position by a couple of seconds with that mess up, but otherwise, I don't know. And even they asked all the Ferrari and the Mercedes drivers of if Ferrari or Mercedes was faster this weekend, and neither of them could comment on it compared to where last week they were all kind of like, it was Ferrari. Was it Ferrari? Sorry. Yesterday they were saying it was all Mercedes pretty much leading, and today they couldn't kind of say which one it was. So yeah,
and I don't know. It'll be interesting to see if this will play, sort of a bigger role in the championship picture going later on to the season. Mm-hmm. This is sort of the second mistake that Vettel's made this season that sort of cost him a podium position. Yep. Obviously, the same sort of issue in Baku. Locked up the front left, going for the pass, but this one was a bit. I don't know. It's tough to sort of analyze. He had a good start. Again, he had a better grip advantage.
My concern with Vettel at the moment, in the last couple of races, when he's had a small mistake or some type of mistake, it's hard to see him recover from it. In my opinion, like he'll go into a turn wrong and he'll make one little mistake, and I don't know. In the last couple of races, I've kind of been like, well, I don't think he's coming back. Where beforehand, at the beginning, I'd be like, okay, Vettel can still come back from that one mistake, but seems like he's lost a little bit of confidence in the last couple of races, in my opinion.
It's the criticism of Vettel sometimes, and
mm-hmm.
obviously they said before, he could get hot-headed. This wasn't really the issue there, but
no, not at all.
Last year too, it was the mistakes of Ferrari that eventually cost him the championship. So Hamilton and Mercedes seem to be a little bit more consistent in that terms, where they don't make major mistakes. Mm-hmm. He has his off weekends like he did in Canada, but with the engine upgrade that they had, it certainly helped them. But
for sure,
they stay with Hamilton as well. They stay a lot more even keel. Mm-hmm. Whereas Vettel and Ferrari do have a tendency to make these kind of big mistakes. Yeah. I think what's lucky, and it sort of just illustrated the frustrations of the sport, that he drops back to pretty much last on the first lap and then ends up finishing in fifth. Yeah. So that's kind of the frustration of the sport, is that and I'm a Vettel fan. I like him
love Vettel's driving. Yeah, no, it's great. He's great.
But that really shouldn't happen. I mean, he cut through the field so quickly and so easily that it was honestly like. Well, if you're a Hamilton fan and you're like, oh, this is great, he's going to have almost a 25-point advantage after this race, and then he comes back and it's just like, well, what's the point, right?
Yeah, no, exactly.
So that was a bit of a frustration, and then when I saw Carlos Sainz in P3, I was like, this is great. Yeah, like maybe a podium, but I mean, there was no chance. Within a couple laps, he was passed by 3-4 cars, and then.
Was it Sainz that had the engine issue towards the very end? Yeah. It was Sainz, right? He was in P5 or something, and then he dropped to P7, P8, I want to say.
Yeah, before we came on the air for the podcast, I just read that he had a MGUK failure.
Oh, but same thing as Daniel Ricciardo.
But the virtual safety car at the end of the race saved him because he could sort of limp home in the points. Yeah. So he got lucky there. But, I mean, that's, again, frustrations with the sport where... Mm-hmm. A Renault's in P3, but he's not going to hang on to it. Yeah, and then you've got Vettel, who's in a Ferrari that's way at the back of the grid, that has a better chance of finishing on the podium than Sainz, who's actually in P3. So but I mean, not much that we can do.
And then another thing on Ferrari, actually, I want to comment on. At one point in the race, when both Kimi and Vettel were kind of just back to back, Kimi was right behind Vettel. why did it take them so long to put Kimi up ahead? Like, he was clearly going to be the winner out of them. He had the better tires, but it took them, I think, like 15 seconds too long to let Kimi go ahead. In my opinion, I think he should have, at that point, they should have just let him go right away, where Vettel was just kind of like, no, I want to keep doing. I'm going to keep going.
It did look like that, yeah.
Yeah, he's like, no, I want to lead, but he couldn't. He didn't have the tires for it, and yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if Vettel was struggling for grip that much that he couldn't sort of. But I mean, he should have just gone out of the way. And
and just let him go. Kimi was on fresh tires, like three. Yeah. It
was a bit sketchy a little bit though, because he got like, even when he passed him, it wasn't. I mean, it was, you weren't sure.
Nice pass. It looked like Vettel was frustrated with that pass too. He didn't want it to happen. So.
Well, tough luck, Seb, because that's what happens with Kimi every other race.
Yeah. Now you know how he feels.
Yeah. And speaking of Raikkonen, it looked at the beginning, I was critical once again. I mean, this is his 28th or 26th race in a row that he hasn't gained a position on the start.
Mm-hmm.
And again, he fell behind. Leclerc got past him, a couple other guys too.
Yep.
And it looked like, it was going to be one of those races again. And then it looked similar to China when he was out in front, and Ferrari wasn't really sure, okay, what are we going to do with him? Are we going to keep him out there? And then eventually, he came back for a good podium finish.
Yep.
So a good recovery from Kimi Räikkönen because, rumors throughout the week was that Charles Leclerc will be replacing him in 2019.
He had a great race, though, so I can see why
not mad at
Ferrari.
that.
I can see why Ferrari are looking towards him. He's young, and he had a great race. So yeah,
terrific. Yeah, I mean, he was in P6 or maybe even P5 after the first laps and stuff.
He had some great overtakes in my opinion. So like, I'd be excited to see that after the talk that we had last week on the last show. I wouldn't mind seeing him in a Ferrari shirt.
Me too, and I think that he could be a real solid driver because if he can do that in a Sauber,
and support Vettel for the next couple of years, they're in a really good position. Ferrari would be in a very good position. So.
Yeah, I loved when Vettel was coming up to pass Leclerc, and then Brundle was like, what should he do if he's looking for the Ferrari drive? Should he let him go, or should he show them that hey, I can compete too?
Yeah,
but
exactly.
I think he made the right decision. So we'll see what happens out of that. But yeah, I mean, if you're Raikkonen, he's had a couple disappointing. Qualifying the last three races has been horrible. Canada and this one here at Paul Ricard.
Exactly.
Just horrible. So he's driven really well at times this season, and then other times it's he's looked sort of disinterested.
Sometimes it looks like he doesn't want to win the race at all.
Yeah. So I don't know what the deal is there. What's going on internally at Ferrari, but. It seems as though they're leaning more towards Charles Leclerc than they would Daniel Ricciardo. We mentioned that in our French preview that sort of the Ferrari bosses aren't really sure that Ricciardo's the guy. So it could be Charles Leclerc. So that'll be something that we'll be paying attention to, throughout the season. But
and Daniel Ricciardo just got offered a whole bunch of money for McLaren. Didn't he?
20 million, something like that.
Yeah,
so that's interesting too, right? Is who are they replacing? Van Dorn or Alonso or
exactly.
both?
Yeah. McLaren needs to fix up their shit before I want to see Daniel Ricciardo in a McLaren shirt.
Boy, I know. And then we get to that topic again, McLaren. I mean, it's.
I don't know what it is. We heard the frustration from Alonso at the end of the race. Like, I didn't even understand what he was saying, but he was frustrated, man. Like after coming from Le Mans, like. I would be frustrated if I was in a McLaren shirt at the moment. If I was Alonso at the moment, I would be very frustrated.
You go from winning, one of the best, races in all of motorsports to finishing second last.
Yeah.
And quite honestly, he was technically last because Stroll crashed out.
Exactly.
But he did end up classifying. I don't exactly know how that works, but so he was pretty much dead last. You know what I mean? And not only that, but let's be honest. Like we're Alonso fans. I think we can all admit.
Everyone's an Alonso fan. No one who is a fan of F1 can say they're not an Alonso fan. Right. He's that type of guy.
But I have to say that he wasn't on it this weekend.
No,
and whether that was just coming off the high of winning Le Mans and he wasn't necessarily ready, or he just wasn't interested and focused enough. But in the pre-drivers press conference, he mentioned, I've never driven this track. He said, I've never driven it. I've never done it in a simulator. I don't know whether that's
you could totally
accurate.
tell, yeah.
Yeah, and like you said, it was, you could tell he was making mistakes in practice.
Well, there was times where he was just going up on curbs, like way too high up
on wheelies.
Yeah, like I was just like, what are you doing, man? You just won Le Mans last week. Like, what kind of driving is this? So, I don't know. It was upsetting to see from Alonso, in my opinion.
Yeah,
But I'm sure he feels the same way with McLaren. He's probably really frustrated, but at some points it's got to be you too, So
yeah, it's a weird combination that they have there, but it's looking less and less likely like he's going to be back for 2019. And yeah, we could talk more about that situation later on. But yeah, I think it was like middle of the race or whenever when he came on, he's like no brakes, like no tires, and then I almost felt like he said like, well, what's the point? Or
yeah,
we
he's like,
should just quit.
exactly. He's like, we should just go out, and he's right. He did well, not right, but he had 2 DNFs in the last 2 races. So and he wants to come back, and look what position he came in. So I feel his frustration. It's hard.
Very difficult. Yeah, I could imagine too, especially him when he's capable of a lot more.
Yeah.
If he was in a better car, but. We'll see how that plays out, but I think maybe we should start enjoying as much of Fernando as we can. It might be.
He's gonna have an interesting year. I want to see him in podium at least once. Probably not gonna happen.
Yeah, well, it's interesting that you say that because I think before, excuse me, at the start of the season, we were wondering like, oh, if there's like a crazy race, we could maybe see a McLaren on a podium, or okay, we see a Force India in Baku. But if you look at this race, it was a crazy first lap. We had a Renault in P3, but then.
McLaren did not recover
whatsoever.
After that, everyone went through the same thing in that first lap, and I think they came out of it the best out of all the teams, and they just did not recover at all from it at all. So
and none of the midfield look like they can even get close enough to challenge for podiums.
Yeah,
which is really disappointing.
I think it was Leclerc when he took over Van Doorn, and he made it look so easy when he passed him. It was just like, what's in your engine, guys? Like, seriously.
Yeah, so I think McLaren's hopes for a podium are really long
really
way away.
Low. Like, it's got to be one of those things. Like, at least 3 out of the 6 top people have to have DNFs, which is very unlikely.
Right. Yeah. That's really it, though. I completely agree. Like, they would have to just completely, catapult each other out in the first corner, and then
it's all Alonso from there, pretty much.
Yeah. So that kind of sucks because when you see like Carlos Sainz running in P3 or in Leclerc in P6, you're like, even as a Vettel fan or if even a Ferrari fan, like I love seeing that. It was great.
You want to see those type of cars make point finishes and make podium finishes. So. And I feel the same about McLaren, but you guys are letting me down.
Yeah, the greater problems of the sport for sure was at a great example in this race. And next thing we can move on to, which not really Formula One related, but we were just talking about Alonso's frustration on the radio. I was just browsing through Twitter before the race, and I found this from the F2 race before the Formula One race today, and it was just to kind of give you a small backstory. So. Again, I don't follow F2, so this driver, Arjun Mayani, well, I just played from the beginning. I just missed the first part. So, anyways, he was apparently really frustrated with reliability.
Don't support me at all.
He just
I do
flipped
everything.
out on the radio.
You can't do this to me, mate. I have no power on
It's a Haas car.
Not anybody believe me.
You look like it.
I don't rate the championship anymore.
So if you play back just the last part there, he says he doesn't even want to race anymore.
It's a Haas.
Oh, okay.
Power on the corner. Why not anybody believe me? I don't rate the championship anymore.
So he said he didn't even want to race in the championship anymore. I don't know. Apparently they're having massive reliability issues, and he's just really frustrated with what the team has dealt him.
Yeah.
But I don't think I've ever seen sort of a
meltdown
like that.
Yeah, like a retaliation like that, especially when you're still technically racing. I don't know if they're still in the race. Oh, it's a replay, so he's got to be still in the race. So
yeah, I don't know at what point they are, but boy. I feel like that was Alonso's mood today.
Yeah.
I think Alonso just had a lot more experience and sort of professional. Well, I mean, he's not that young as Arjun is, I guess. So, but I'm pretty sure that's exactly what Alonso was feeling, and internally, that's what he was thinking. But yeah, that was kind of interesting. But you feel bad for the guy. I mean,
yeah, you really do. Like when you're driving and you say your entire team isn't supporting you, those are big words. You're driving for your team. Like,
yeah.
So you must have been really frustrated at that point. So I don't know if he's a secondary driver or he's their primary driver, but
yeah, I'm not 100% sure how F2 exactly works. And I was just reading the comments from people that pay more attention to it than I do. that they're criticizing sort of the teams and the sport because, they sort of don't really put that much backing behind the drivers, and they don't give them the best sort of machinery. And I was reading something that somebody said they don't even get paid.
What?
I'm not sure if that's accurate though.
They probably get like a weekly wage, or like that's kind of you know how like for a lot of like 60 U16 teams for soccer and stuff, they get paid like a minimum amount, and then you get paid based on your wins and stuff. So maybe it's something like that. They get based on podium finishes or where they are for point finishes.
I'm not sure, but I would hope they do because they're sacrificing a
lot. You're putting pretty much your body on the line and going however fast GP2 cars go. I don't know.
I mean, they're pretty fast. Like it would probably scare the shit out of us. So.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, that's just an interesting thing that we found. And then other than that, post race, Max Verstappen getting a little bit chippy.
But sorry, before we get on that, I was really happy to see Hamilton and Verstappen getting along in the drivers' room afterwards. I was both of them commenting on Vettel's fuck up.
Yeah, they've had their history for sure. It's funny, like it's all connected in the end, right?
Exactly.
So this was in the press conference, and then they were just like, "Hey Max, so what do you think about Sebastian Vettel's lap 1 incident?" And Verstappen says,
"Yeah, I think next time you see Seb, you should ask him to change his style.
Just watch Hamilton in the middle."
Honestly, it's not acceptable. That's what
you gotta watch Kimmy's face too.
So I think they should do the same.
Barely blinks.
And then of course Seb shouldn't do anything and just drive again and learn from this. And go on. That's my advice to everyone in this room.
The other thing is, man, he has such a straight face as he's saying that. I would have burst out laughing halfway through my comment if I was Verstappen.
I just loved watching. There's three faces there. You got Hamilton's laughing, Verstappen who's being sarcastic, and
then there's Kimi who's trying to play it cool for his teammate.
Maybe not. Maybe he's just completely like zoned out of it too. But yeah, that was really funny. So Verstappen just calling out the media. He's done it before. Last week or 2 weeks ago in Canada, he said that he wanted to headbutt some journalists for asking him the same question. So now he's coming back at the media again. So he's got a little bit of an attitude.
A little bit. I mean, he's still young. He's still young. So I mean, I see it. So
he's got a lot of fire in him. So, but I must say, good for Max Verstappen.
He had a really good race.
Yeah, good recovery. So last couple races have been a good recovery from the crashes.
I mean, he's making those comments to the media, but it looks like he did take a little bit of he didn't take their advice, but he did kind of change up his driving style. There's the last couple of races I've noticed, there was times where I'd be like, Verstappen's definitely going to go into that corner, try to overtake, where he's played it cool and he's let the driver he's given the space, or he's just played it a little back. So it's interesting to see. And I think the biggest one was at Monaco when was it Monaco that he didn't qualify where he came from 20? Yeah, there was a couple of points where he tried to take over and he ran them off track, and he waited for them to come back, and then he would try it again, and he did fairly well. I think that Monaco was definitely in the changing race for Verstappen, and he's just improved from there in my opinion. So
yeah, if there was any pressure for him to change his style, I think it was internally within the team.
Yeah. Because
it was just costing them too much points, whether it was crashing with Ricardo or crashing with other drivers. So I don't think I agree. I don't think he necessarily changed his style, but maybe just made some adjustments.
Exactly. And I really like the Ricardo and Verstappen partnership. To be honest, they work really well together as teammates, and I think the last couple of races, they've only been one position away from each other, one or two positions. So
yeah, and they've kept it clean.
Yeah, so it's been interesting seeing. There's been a huge change the last couple of races for Red Bull. So
yeah,
it's been good.
That Honda partnership's really interesting for next season and what Ricardo's going to do.
Yeah.
But if the rumors are true, Ferrari don't really want him. I think his options are sort of running out. Because I highly doubt he's going to go to McLaren, and he shouldn't.
I agree. And Ricardo is a driver that needs to move up. I'm not saying Red Bull's a bad team. He's made those point finishes, so obviously he's the driver to do it. But I mean, I don't want to see him go to McLaren. But if McLaren makes those improvements to their car, I would love to see Daniel Ricciardo bring them back to what McLaren used to be.
True. Yeah. No, I agree, but it's always a question, right? I mean, the last 5 years, McLaren's just been, plummeting.
Yeah.
Really,
exactly.
year after year. So if you're Ricciardo, you're, 28, 29, and you're looking to make that next step to really compete for a championship, I don't think that you want to go to a team that's just trying to figure things out.
Well, exactly. And if I was Ricciardo at 28, 29, I want to go to a team that I'm going to be staying at for the next 5 to whatever many years where I'm going to be winning. And McLaren is just, where are they going to be the next 5 to 10 years?
Right.
So
it might take them another 5 years to get to where Red Bull is.
And at that point, Ricciardo's not going to want to be there. He's gonna want to leave, or he's going to want to retire not retire, but based on his performances with McLaren. So. Yeah, I'm like McLaren would need to make the improvements this year, and we would need to see the change by the end of the year before I want to see Ricciardo in a McLaren suit. So
yeah, he's expressed before that he doesn't want to race into his late 30s. So I think probably by 34, 35 he would be done.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, for him just to go to McLaren just because they offered him $20 million a year, I mean. He does get underpaid at Red Bull because Verstappen got that big new contract, and he does deserve to get a nice paycheck.
But there's some drivers that you can tell race for a lot of the money, Hamilton. But I don't see Ricciardo as that type of driver. I think out of all of them, I don't see Vettel and Ricciardo as the two drivers that race just for the money.
Right. Yeah. I mean. For sure, Hamilton, it's a part of it for him. I think that he loves the glamorous lifestyle as well. But, I mean, obviously his motivations are to be one of the best. But, yeah, Ricciardo, I think he's just really at that point now where he realizes that he's the caliber of driver that can be a championship winner and a contender. So, yeah, I mean, but again, Red Bull, I think, is a championship contender.
I agree,
if they can just sort of figure out this, lack of power with their engines. Mm-hmm. So maybe Honda is the answer. I don't know. It's a tough decision for him.
I mean, they'll be reliable.
Yeah.
So that's a big one.
I would hate to be in his spot because I think maybe he was expecting Ferrari to give him an offer early in the season.
And you know what? He probably wanted to be partners with Vettel again at that point. They had a great partnership when he was at Red Bull. So he's hoping for it. But like we've said the last two episodes, if Leclerc steps up, which he sort of has this race, we might see Ferrari. We might see him in a Ferrari shirt instead. So
maybe, who knows? But Danny Rick, if you're listening, don't go to McLaren.
That's the main point. Don't do it.
Or else you're going to be racing in Indy 500s and Le Mans.
Yeah, you saw Alonso this race. You don't want to be that guy, man.
Yeah, exactly. Just Ricardo, YouTube Fernando Alonso best of team radios the last 5 years.
Oh man, that was funny. I watched that multiple times. Yeah. They were all great.
So you don't do it just for the money, but we'll see. We'll see what happens with Danny Rick. And that was pretty much about it for this race. I mean, it didn't end up. We finally had a race that was more interesting than from Spain, Monaco, Canada. Pretty dry. Nothing really happened.
And you know what I found most interesting? It's the pit lane was super interesting for this race. Where all the other times, no one pays attention to the pit lane. They'll get in the pit lane. They'll be out within 5 seconds. The pit lane mattered in this race a lot.
Super sketchy.
It mattered a lot. I think anytime someone went in the pit lane, they would lose 1 or 2 positions, or so it was. You have to time it right, exactly right, if you wanted to come out in the same position. And I think the only person that did it was it Bottas that went into the pit, and I think Vettel pitted right afterwards. And I think Vettel was one of the only drivers that stayed in the same position by going into the pit and coming out at the same time. So
yeah, because they reduced the speed. I think it was you could only go 40 miles per hour.
Well, I
think it was 60 kilometers.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, I think it was 60 kilometers. Yeah, that would make sense.
It's usually 80 kilometers. I think we mostly have European viewers anyway.
Yeah.
Or, I think the U.S. only uses miles per hour, right? They're the only ones that use.
Actually, you know what? It's weird because the UK uses miles per hour, but I think they use centimeters and stuff. They don't use inches, but I might be wrong. Correct us if we're wrong. Yeah. But I'm pretty sure they use miles per hour.
Okay.
So
yeah. So yeah, it was 60K, so 40 miles per hour, so which is 20K. slower than what it usually is. But yeah, and then the refeed into the track, like you literally refed directly right into the action.
Yeah, and that was specifically for this track, correct? That they
Right.
had. Okay, I was gonna
Yeah.
say that if that's gonna be a constant thing, we're gonna have the pit lane is where we should be watching the race now.
And even yeah, like even the exit or the entry to the pit lane was super tight.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, it's not really one of the best ones. It was somewhat similar to Canada where you refeed sort of directly into the action.
Yeah.
Where you don't have somewhat of a runoff. So
Yeah.
there was a couple of close moments with cars, exiting and then other drivers as well. So yeah, that was an interesting one. But I mean, we'll see. We'll see for the years to come what Paul Ricard's going to offer us. There was plenty of overtaking. They said
Yep.
that it wasn't going to be a track that was going to be.
Oh, I mean, it was a really cool track. And I commented on this earlier. If I ever played that on a simulation, I would be going off track all
Oh
the
my
time.
God.
There's way too many lanes and way too many lines on that track.
I didn't like that. Yeah.
And from what you were saying, they have 150 different variations of that
Yeah.
track they can do. Like, that's crazy. That's a lot.
Yeah, I'm gonna be happy when we get to Austria and it's just one layout.
Yeah.
That's it. The only other way we could go is like reverse.
Yeah.
And that's it.
No, and there was multiple points where I was watching these guys take these turns, and I'm like, oh, okay, they're gonna go over. Oh no, that is definitely off track. Like,
It's like- and then the lines, like the blue line, and the red line. So there's apparently you got plenty of grip out there, so that they're supposed to slow you down if you crash or whatever.
oh, okay.
But I didn't like that because the drivers in the first lap could just cut the chicanes and
Yeah.
cut across the track. I want more gravel traps, more grass in that area. So make it old school. When you made a mistake, that was
you do
it.
suffer from it, not just slow down. Like you
Yeah.
you have to drive yourself out of there, not just cruise. But-
Exactly. So it was tough on the eyes. If you
Yeah.
have you should definitely not watch this race if you got like vertigo or dizziness or something like that. It was like a maze out there.
Yeah.
So it was pretty crazy. But yeah, I guess it wasn't as bad as maybe we thought. So
Mhm.
yeah, it's nice to see the French Grand Prix back on the calendar.
Exactly. So.
So yeah, I think that was pretty much about it from the race. Lewis Hamilton. We'll head into Austria with a 14-point championship lead over Sebastian Vettel. So a good day for Vettel in terms of salvaging the championship. So a decent recovery drive from him. So yeah, and we'll see. The first of the triple header is already done.
Yeah, basically, it's a great start to the triple header too. I'm
Yeah.
really excited to see what happens next week.
A key point in the season, ladies and gentlemen. There's 75 points up for grabs in this 3 weeks. So really, really important.
Oh, where are we sitting right now, actually?
In the championship.
Yeah, in terms of. So here we go.
So yeah, we had 14 points between Vettel and Hamilton, and then the rest of the field is trying to catch up.
Trying to catch up.
Unfortunate for Bottas today.
Very unfortunate.
I picked him to win the race, but not even close. So he's been having some real bad luck this season, man. But I hope he won last year in Austria, so hopefully he can repeat that.
The question now is, can Verstappen get 3 podiums in a row?
You're right.
It's the first time I think today that this year that Red Bull has 2 podium finishes in a row.
Yeah, Red Bull's home race too, also in Austria. So they've done decently there last year. So I hope.
Is that where they test their cars, or do they just test their cars in Spain when they first?
I think they just do it in Spain, but because we were mentioning this before the podcast started, that Red Bull or the F1 team, Red Bull's owner actually owns the track because he bought it. So yeah, I think it's a track they're really familiar with.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not sure actually if they've done any F1 testing, but probably not. Probably just in Barcelona. So
Yeah, that would make sense.
but that is next week. It'll be on July 1st, so Canada Day for us here in Canada.
I will be inebriated.
Are you sure then or now too? Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding.
We're paying attention. We'll see how much we can remember for the recap show after that. But all the Canadian F1 fans out there, you'll have something to do.
Oh, we didn't comment on Williams today. Well, I guess we
That's
don't need
why.
to.
Oh yeah. Before we go, we'll touch on it. Yeah, Williams again, dead last.
Well, I feel like Stroll got very unlucky towards the end. Well, I mean, they were in last position anyways, but
yeah.
it's just very unfortunate to what happened to his tire.
I don't know if, was it because, he pitted early, so he was on sort of the end of the life of the soft tire, but I don't know, he had also some flat spotting issues, so that might have been from his own fault too, with locking up the fronts, but I don't know. I don't know what to say anymore with Williams and stuff. And every time I hear Stroll talk about the car too, I feel like he doesn't really know what he's doing that much either.
Yeah.
You know, in practice he got on the radio. He's like, "Give me information, something."
Yeah.
Somebody was commenting like, "Steer left and right." So, I don't know what they're gonna do, but they can pretty much write off the season for now. So
That's it for them.
that's our Williams update. 30
There we
seconds,
go.
That's all we needed. And that's about it for us for the French Grand Prix recap. So we hope you guys enjoyed the race. Hope you guys enjoyed our show too. We'll be back for our Austria preview. Busy time for everybody, I think, with this triple header.
Yep.
So it's going to be a lot for us to cover and a lot for you guys to follow as well. But stay tuned because we're going to be bringing you a lot of videos between now and the end of the summer break in July. So subscribe to us on YouTube. I think we were at around 123 subscribers.
Nice,
so
nice.
we could do better, guys. Let's bump that up.
Yeah, we're slowly moving.
We're going to bump that up, so we appreciate the support. We're also on Twitter. You can always chime in with us at TBMF1 Show. Send us your questions or comments about the race. Send us your best memes too.
Yep.
We always
I
enjoy
love
those.
memes.
We
Do it all day.
I love seeing the internet reactions that WTF1 does also from post-race. There's a lot of quick-witted fans out there, so you guys are pretty good with that. And yeah, that's it. Any parting thoughts from the French Grand Prix?
Merci.
Merci beaucoup, ladies and gentlemen. That's it. We'll see you back for the Austria preview. Until then, bye for now.
Thank you.